betrayed by my own heroes. My life meant nothing.
Leon Valley, Texas charged a woman $102 for the police reports I'm holding. Was that even legal? And how did the police help? I'll show you what the police tried to cover up. Each person has a right to access public information in Texas, but local governments often levy illegal open records charges to block access to information. This usually discriminates against the poor, disenfranchised, or political minority. Basically, those whose lives could improve the most by becoming better informed. Meanwhile, the friends of those in power are told everything without even having to ask, and certainly without paying. On December 21st, Sandra Caldwell Martinez requested a copy of the Leon Valley police reports related to herself. The city unlawfully delayed over a month before providing an outrageous invoice. Over $100 for 36 pages of police reports. Many of the narratives were just a few sentences long. Since there were 50 or fewer pages, the city was prohibited from charging more than $3.60 for paper copies. Based on the timestamps on the reports I received, it consumed only about 14 minutes of time to locate and compile the information. The bill given to Ms. Martinez was literally criminal. At every step in the process, government officials in the United States violate vulnerable people who are unjustly seen as undeserving or undesirable to those in power.
You better watch allegations with me, sir, because I will retaliate on that.
The reports show that the Leon Valley Police initially responded to her residence for welfare checks, standbys, and civil matters relating to her husband's recent divorce and child custody matters. A few months later, conflict developed between Martinez and her husband. She called the police during an argument. The police didn't help, but they did learn that the family was a vulnerable target. Former police chief Joseph Aggio ran a so-called junked vehicle program, but the police would often impound vehicles during traffic stops for past due vehicle tax payments. These were vehicles that were being driven, hardly junked. State law requires such seized vehicles to be truly junked and rendered inoperable by the city prior to selling them as scrap. Instead, Savaggio held regular auctions selling functioning cars to fund City Hall and their friendly contractor Banis Towing.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. I mean, I think we're saying the same thing.
Well, no, what I'm saying is you cannot tow a vehicle. You cannot say it's a junk vehicle just for the fact that the registration's expired, according to state law.
Okay.
I mean, I know Leon Valley law, the way it's written right now.
I've been doing this for 32 years, and it's always been that way in San Antonio and anywhere else in the state. But what I'll tell you, you're misinterpreting it, sir.
No, what the difference is that we're towing vehicles, and we're impounding vehicles that are perfectly operable, that are not junk vehicles, they just have expired tags.
And that's the law, sir.
That is not the law. Mr. Diaz's vehicle that was towed.
It has to.
Hang on just a second. We can only have one person talking.
Can I just address? I'm sorry, Mayor.
One person talking.
A vehicle that has an expired plate or registration is inoperable. You can't operate
That is not the definition of inoperable.
Well,
No.
yes, it is.
According to the state, it is.
To the state.
Well,
According to
all
the
right.
state.
Hang on just a second, because
We're not just the fact that it sits there with an expired registration. Just if somebody pulls up in their vehicle with an expired registration, gets out of their vehicle, goes inside the house. We have no right to tow that vehicle. That vehicle has to be sitting on that road for more than, according to ours, 24 hours.
So I sent an email, actually, the city attorney at the time, Denise Frederick, sent an email to Texas Municipal League, and they agreed with me. It must be both legally expired or no plate and mechanically wrecked, dismantled, etc., inoperable. Thank you. That's what I argued. They went round and round and argued against it. They're wrong. And then they came back and told me, well, it depends on what the meaning of or is. It's totally insane. This has to stop. This is how they're taking vehicles from citizens. It's really a scam.
A month later, at around 5 p.m. on June 21st, Leon Valley Police came back to the Martinez residence to start the process of seizing the vehicles parked in front. Officers wrote that they found a Ford Focus with dust throughout the vehicle. Brilliant investigators. They tagged the vehicles with a Leon Valley notice for an ordinance violation. In Texas, cities call this proactive policing. A week later, Sandra Martinez told Leon Valley Police that she was assaulted by her husband on June 21st, around 9 p.m. If you're keeping track, that's about 4 hours after the police tagged their cars. She told police that her and her husband had been arguing that evening. I wonder what about? She claims that later in the evening her husband threw a mattress at her, which caused her to black out when her head hit the wall. She went to the hospital the day following the injury. While she was at the hospital, the Leon Valley Police were requested. However, Leon Valley refused to send an officer. The police later claimed the hospital was too far away. The hospital is a 14-minute drive from the Leon Valley Police Department when driving the speed limit. Leon Valley Police frequently drive to downtown San Antonio for routine police matters. Police officers in Texas routinely interview victims at hospitals outside their city limits. The police kept the assault case open for a single day. Snowflake Detective King put the case to inactive status the next day. Sandra possibly triggered a contempt of cops situation when she told him she did not trust the police department and would come some other time with a counselor. Can you blame her? Meanwhile, her husband Robert Martinez called the Leon Valley Police multiple times to get a mental health warrant for his wife. Although I doubt Sandra met the criteria for an emergency detention order, the appropriate police response is to interview the person who is reported to be in crisis. If available, county mental health deputies might assist, but not replace the primary police agency. Instead of responding to their calls for service, Leon Valley Police tried to punt the incident to other agencies. First, they told Robert to call Bexar County Precinct 2. Later that day, Leon Valley gave him a flyer and told him to call a county mental health unit. This is insane negligence, especially when there is recent history of a possible assault. Perhaps Chief Savaggio's phones were overloaded or broken that day. Or maybe they just don't give a shit. Did I mention that there is no situation that the police can't make worse? As things continued to deteriorate for the Martinez family, the Leon Valley Police focused on what is most important: seizing vehicles to fund Joe and Kelly's big-time salaries. Leon Valley Police tagged one of their vehicles again over expired registration, advising that the vehicle could not be stored on a public roadway and would be towed within 24 hours. This type of police action is not only wrong and petty, it's also lawless. Leon Valley Police failed to follow Chapter 683 of the Texas Transportation Code. A few weeks later, the police went full Karen, citing 5 vehicles, 2 for blocking a sidewalk, a pickup truck in the street for, quote, obviously not moved for a very long time, end quote, and the previous 2 vehicles for being junked and inoperative vehicles in the driveway. State law requires a vehicle on private property to be inoperable for at least 30 consecutive days. However, Leon Valley's own police reports document that the Ford was parked on the street 24 days prior. Clearly, it's not about law and order. Many YouTube channels focus on publishing only the most sensational police videos. However, I think it's important for people to understand the routine activities of the police. This next report highlights how ridiculous it is to fund municipal police departments. Leon Valley Police Officer Brandon Evans wrote that he was advised by his field training officer to locate vehicle for a violation of city ordinance. He then located the vehicle on the street in front of the Martinez residence and tagged it with a violation of city ordinance because the registration had been expired for 5 months. This is fucking heroic police activity. Look at how they keep us safe. I love Texas. The police may have protected Karen from looking at unregistered vehicles, but they didn't protect Sandra. She was assaulted again 2 months later. An emergency room employee called the Leon Valley Police to report that a victim of violence had come in and recommended officers respond to take photos. This time, the police actually responded to their call. Officer Mandry wrote, "When I entered, victim stood near the staff, even behind at one point, stating she was nervous. She had a prior pending assault charge filed with LVPD. Sandra told Mandry that her husband choked her and punched her multiple times in the face. The officer observed numerous injuries consistent with the report, including bruises, scratches, redness, and a busted blood vessel in her left eye. The police finally investigated the husband for second-degree felony assault. He voluntarily provided incriminating statements to the officers. He admitted to grabbing her and pushing her to the ground face first. He said he pinned her to the ground and grabbed her wrist. No arrest was made. Sandra stopped staying at the house. Robert Martinez died 4 months later, so the case was closed. But the police incompetence didn't end. After he passed away, Robert's children refused to allow Sandra into the house. Leon Valley Police denied her access to the home and unsuccessfully solicited trespass charges against her. The children eventually moved out of the house. It was burglarized and trashed. The neighbor across the street observed a man exit the residence with a bunch of wires and a black zipper bag. She called Leon Valley Police, but no one came. Later that year, the vacant house was again broken into. Leon Valley Police described the house as trashed with miscellaneous items scattered all over the area. Even though a neighbor had a video of a vehicle that was possibly involved, the police closed the incident with no further action taken. It's not about law and order. The police don't make money by solving property crimes against residents. They generate revenue for our government masters by seizing cars with expired registration. The police neither prevent nor solve real crimes against real victims.
If you'll state your name and where you reside, please.
Yes, my name is Sandy Caldwell Martinez.
Uh-huh.
I used to live at 6430 Red Jacket Drive here in Leon Valley. However, my home is in the process of litigation on an estate since my husband passed away. So I was supposed to be home. I should be home, but subsequently issues happened, and that's why I'm here to speak.
Okay.
I'm going to try not to cry because it's very painful, my experience here in Leon Valley. And I'm not going to get into too much detail in respect to all of the leaders that we have here. And the ones who know me because you'll see my emails, because I passionately advocate for people like myself who fall victim to domestic violence. And that is one of the things that I wanted to discuss with the council, is to bring some more awareness. I have spoken to Mr. Bradshaw. I have spoken to other leaders. I have gone down the list of leaders to speak to. I know I reached out to Ms. Rodriguez, and she said she didn't handle that, not in her area. I think it was Mr. Hooting. Yeah, he didn't handle it either. But I'm just saying, I did reach out to people, and I have suffered some serious issues in the fact that there was a miscommunication for me, saying I'm sorry, miscommunication. I've spoke to you about it, about please getting some training for the police department, not because I wanted to pick on my leaders, but because I love police officers. They're my heroes. Always have been, right here, okay, in my heart. So can you imagine the devastation I felt when I felt betrayed by my own heroes, that came over the first time that I was punched in my stomach. And I was asked to leave. And there was evidence that in an event that I was murdered, which I nearly was after the 6th call. And under Domestic Violence Rights and Act, to do no harm, he should have been incarcerated the first time only because he needed help. Okay, it's a man I love, and this is a man that needed help. Okay, we're not doctors. Chief police officers, they're not doctors, but we can lead them to where they need to get help. Okay, I was brutally attacked, not tapped on the shoulder and asked a question, and not disrespecting Miss Monica. I'm just saying, how is it that an elderly man is incarcerated? But my life meant nothing. My life meant nothing. 6 times I was called police to help me. I feel like if we could get some people to train in the area such as that, people wouldn't hate our police officers for doing what they are told to do because they don't know any better, or maybe that's their line of duty. We don't know because we don't do that job, but we have an expectation to be saved, to be taken care of. Because when I heard those sirens, I felt safe. But when I never had fear of the police officers, but when I called them up to ask for training to the city manager, I wasn't doing it to pick on them. I seriously felt like I want them to build their leadership up, to be better leaders. And if they have this knowledge, boy, we'll have some real superheroes on board, right?
Okay.
That's what our tax dollars pay for, protection.
Certainly.
So,
Okay.
it's 3 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. We have a 3-minute. I let you go a little bit long, but what I hear you say is that you're wanting our police officers to be trained in domestic violence. Is that what I hear?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate you coming this evening and sharing that concern. No, sir, I don't think we need to. We've got other people that want to speak right now. Yes. If you want to talk to her afterwards, that would be good. Okay. Yes, sir.
Hello. I'm trying, to do all sides here. I really am. I actually emailed Savaji and I said, "Good afternoon, Chief. This reminded me that you had something to say about this, but Mayor Riley silenced you. I know what it's like to be silenced. You said you thought everyone needed to know, so if you send me a video of your response, I'll publish it." And certainly I would have, with a lot of commentary throughout. I offered Savaggio a chance to be heard on this matter, and he refused to, failed to respond. So I'm trying to be as open and not nonpartisan's the word, balanced, if you will, balanced. Point being, I cannot report about what other people have to say when other people refuse to answer my questions and refuse to talk. I can't do it. So I can only report what I have. And if one side's just not going to, stay quiet, I'm not going to ignore the story. Oh, well, I was going to report about it, but, they kind of look bad. And since they don't want to talk, and, well, I'm not going to run it since we don't have both sides. That's like what a lot of the fakes would do. Oh, well, they didn't comment. We just won't run the story. No, screw that. The story gets run. The story's going out. It sounds like LVPD was biased and incompetent. However, I am certain that Leon Valley officials committed a crime of official misconduct when they failed to promptly turn over the police reports in accordance with the Public Information Act. There is no law or order here. Those in power arbitrarily rule to enrich themselves and their friends. Sometimes they are just evil. Nevertheless, Leon Valley clearly failed a vulnerable and disabled resident. Sandra Caldwell Martinez joined the effort to reform Leon Valley and is also a financial supporter of my independent journalism. However, we have not discussed this video, and I made it without her knowledge. Sandra occasionally sends long emails about her situation to journalists and government officials. I've been aware of her ordeal for years, but I didn't dive into the police reports until the day I wrote this script. In an October 6th email, Sandra made claims of open records violations. I investigated her claims and found that the city violated numerous open records laws. This provided substantial credibility to her story and provoked my interest. While editing this video, there's something I want to make clear. This video is based upon the official police reports, the city's side of the story. The reality is probably much worse, but I thought the government side alone demonstrated that the city police are basically worthless. So, for example, Sandy claimed that the vehicles were tagged for the ordinance violations for the junk vehicle tows because she complained about police misconduct to the mayor and tried to file a complaint with the city manager. Additionally, according to her, a high-ranking police official said, "We don't help people like you." I am continuously surprised as I learned how toxic and ineffective American police really are. The function of the police is to stomp out everyday Americans like me who are in opposition to or who are just unsightly to those in power. The police do not keep safe battered women who beg for help from the hospital.
And this is from Sandra C. Martinez at 60 on Red Jacket in Leon Valley. And
he's already triggered.
Please,
Point of order, Mayor.
Wow, they're so triggered. They're already doing a point of order and she hasn't even started. Maximum trigger. This is going to be great. All right. And, oh man, this is great. I can't wait.
The point of order.
She doesn't live there at Red Jacket. She hasn't lived in Leon Valley for 2 or 3 years.
I don't know that. Chief Savaggio, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. She hasn't moved. She hasn't lived in Leon Valley since 2017. She says that in a lot of her lengthy emails that she sends to us. So the house is vacant. It's right across from former Councilman Martinez. The house has been vacant now for well over a year and a half.
Okay.
She's never owned the house. She's never been a resident or a full-time, according to the law. She's not a resident there either. And so the house has been foreclosed on, and it's not hers. It never was. But she doesn't live there, ma'am.
Okay. I only go.
So this is how, look, if Savaggio doesn't like someone, he does not like her. He knows, this is insane. They're scheming. Immediately, don't even know what immediately, they're shutting people down. And
On what is given to me and what is stated to me, and I believe people, but if you're saying that she doesn't live here, I'm going to, if she doesn't live here, Chief, then this will be part of the record. I will be able to read it. Ms. Martinez, I don't know if you're listening, but if you have some kind of proof that you do live at 6430 Red Jacket, we can read it at the next.
now you have to have proof? But is she actually at the meeting? So now you have to demonstrate that you live in Leon Valley. You're guilty until proven innocent.
Meeting, but as per Chief Savaggio's verification, he says you don't live there, and
No, Joe does not live in Leon Valley.
I will not read it.
None of them live in Leon Valley. None of the city administrators live in Leon Valley.
And I'll put it aside and make it part of the record
Ma'am,
until we have
email,
proof.
in the email,
Excuse me, I hadn't finished.
Now we need our papers
Okay,
to talk.
Now we need the papers to talk, and this is how this Savaggio's got to be hauled off. He's got to be kicked to the curb. He's going to silence her and then try to respond to her email, even though he silenced her. Now he's going to furthermore try to attack her.
Don't interrupt. So I will make it part of the record. I'll give this to Ms. Postleigh. So, excuse me, what did you want to say?
In the email, she says she moved out in 2017. So she's told us that.
It was such a long email.
Right.
I didn't.
I read it. And so multiple times she's told us in her emails that she left in 2017, and her complaint is that we wouldn't let her go back in the house that she claims.
Okay.
Correct?
All right. We don't need to go through
Right.
it, but okay. Thank you.
So here it is. Mayor, she's not a resident because I won't let her into the house. You can't even make this up. You can't make it up. Oh my gosh. Well, maybe if I would let her into the house, she could be a resident, but I'm not letting her into the house.
And we'll just move on. All right. Any other citizens to be heard or read into the
says
record?
they ran her out of town.
Okay.
After we won the election, Sanders said on Instagram, "Real heroes are those who are dedicated to making a change in any kind of bias or corrupt treatment." Those pictures bring back a lot of memories. It's especially sentimental considering the news about one of your favorite guests on my show. Sarah Smart passed away this fall after painfully suffering from recurrent cancer. I can't imagine the emotions involved in leaving an infant daughter behind. Politics too often invades personal relationships. But my Leon Valley coverage will now resume. Without Sarah, the reform efforts in Leon Valley would have failed. She was a leader and a core part of the movement.